Thank you for choosing WION and welcome. Russia has announced massive drills of its nuclear forces as tensions continue to escalate over Ukraine. It comes at a time when the US has issued some of its starkest warnings, detailing how a Russian invasion of Ukraine might unfold. Russian President Vladimir Putin will personally oversee the exercise. It will involve multiple practice launches of both ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. According to the Kremlin, Putin will observe the drills from the Situation Room. As for the practice missile launches, he will supervise those himself. Moscow says that the drills will test the readiness of military command and control, as well as the reliability of strategic nuclear and non-nuclear weapons. They will involve Russia's aerospace forces, its Southern Military District, Strategic Missile Forces, Northern Fleet, and the Black Sea Fleet. The drills could be a stark reminder of Moscow's nuclear might, especially amid the standoff. And to talk more about the situation in Ukraine, Foreign Affairs Analyst Oleksiy Melnik joins us live from Kyiv. Welcome to WION, Mr. Melnik.
Good afternoon.
The Kremlin insists it has no plans to invade, but Moscow has demanded that the US and its allies not to deploy weapons in Ukraine and also pull back NATO forces from Eastern Europe. Now, Putin and Lukashenko will oversee the huge nuclear drills amid Ukraine tensions. Mr. Melnik, what will be the significance of these war games?
You mentioned or described the situation by calling rebels, separatists, and I think there is very important detail about the ongoing conflict, that actually if you see how well all the actions are coordinated, these missile drills with nuclear, including even nuclear missiles, yesterday's unexpected and surprising massive evacuation without any significant level of violence on the front line. And having in mind all these details, you should, or we should rather talk about Russian attack or preparation for the Russian attack on Ukraine. It's not about kind of civil conflict. So we should look much deeper, and today's exercise and all the rhetorics that we hear from the Kremlin is actually confirmation of that position that I just described.
All right. Russia says that the exercise will be transparent and should not cause anyone concern. Do you think the US or NATO will take the Kremlin's word on that and not to be concerned about the drills or troop deployments?
Well, troop deployments, the preparation of the troop deployments started actually almost 1 year ago in April 2021. And now this is the second phase, which is combined with the military exercise. And I don't think this is the coincidence that today Putin personally will observe this nuclear simulated, I hope, nuclear strikes. And this is not the signal to Ukraine, because Ukraine is non-nuclear state, and Ukraine doesn't have even any kind of parity with ordinary missiles. But this is a clear signal to the United States not to interfere in the ongoing conflict. Russia, the Kremlin, Putin himself consider Ukraine as its backyard, and actually to get Ukraine to the sphere of Russian influence is one of the main Russian objectives.
What is likely, Mr. Melnik, what is the likely reaction from the US or NATO to these drills?
If we are talking about possible Western NATO US reaction, it's absolutely clear. And for us, if we are talking about the Western reaction, diplomatic reaction, political statements, even military providing military support. I mean, in the case of in a sense of military equipment, but no soldiers on the ground, no real involvement in military operations against Russia on the Ukrainian territory. And this is, as I said, very predictable and quite clear. Might be more sanctions. I don't know whether it will be really strong sanctions, but at least the sanctions were promised and they're on the table. The real problem is, as I said, the Western reaction is quite predictable. But the real problem is we have very little idea about the real level of the Russian actions.
All right, Mr. Melnik, stay with me. I want your reactions to the following story. Well, in a sign of escalating tensions in Ukraine, Ukraine's rebel leader in Donetsk region has ordered a general mobilization of troops and urged able citizens to report to the military conscription offices. This after both Ukraine and Russian-backed rebels accused each other of serious ceasefire violations today.
Призываю земляков, пребывающих в запасе, прибыть в военные комиссариаты. Сегодня мной подписан указ о всеобщей мобилизации. Обращаюсь ко всем мужчинам республики, способным держать в руках оружие. Встать на защиту своих семей, своих детей, жен, матерей.
This comes a day after separatist leaders in the region announced that they were evacuating residents to Russia, citing intensified shelling by Ukraine. Visuals on your screens show how buses and cars currently all queued at the Donetsk Russian border. The queue of cars and buses stretched for 22 kilometers towards the border checkpoint in Russia from Donetsk region. As of Saturday morning, rebel leaders of Donetsk claimed that over 6,000 people had already been evacuated, including almost 2,500 children. Russia has said refugee camps will be set up near the border for people arriving from separatist areas. Well, Foreign Affairs Analyst Oleksiy Melnik, live from Kyiv. Thank you very much, sir, for staying with us. Shelling in eastern Ukraine has reignited fears of further escalation. How would you interpret that? Why the blame game? And are these signs of an imminent conflict?
Blame game, as you mentioned, is kind of normal in any conflict. But in Ukrainian situation, we have an international mission. It's a special monitoring mission by OSCE, where they have even Russian observers. So I think we should pay attention to what the international observers say, and they actually say that there is increasing level of shelling, but there is nothing unusual. That we saw these situations many times in Ukrainian conflict. Hopefully, there are no fatalities during the last few days. There were a couple of civilians and military wounded, but no fatalities, no mass fatalities, no even single fatalities. So if all these media footages you see, people suddenly evacuated, looks like a part of the information campaign. That's my assessment. That's well-coordinated information campaign. Is this evacuation, Russian side receiving people on their territory, and the military drills that are still going on in Belarus, neighboring Belarus, north of Ukraine, and the exercises that you mentioned or watched by Mr. Putin himself.
Live from Kyiv, Foreign Affairs Analyst Oleksiy Melnik. Thank you very much for your insights and for talking to WION today.
You're welcome. Have a nice day. Bye.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.